Welcome back. Well, when we took that short break, I had to look through the Electoral Act to see if I could find something about violence. Just the first one that came to mind is Section 96(1) of the Electoral Act says, a candidate, person or group of persons shall not directly or indirectly threaten any person with the use of force or violence during any political campaign in order to compel that person or any other person to support or refrain from supporting a political party or candidate. 2. A person or political party that contravenes the provisions of this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction in the case of an individual to a maximum of 1 million naira or imprisonment of a term of 12 months, that's 1 year. In the case of a political party, a fine of 2 million naira in the first instance and 500,000 naira for any subsequent offense. Well, there's more on electoral violence in the Electoral Act, but let's get back here. Gentlemen, that's the Electoral Act on violence. Right. Now, some will say that's about campaigns, but campaigns will lead into elections and all of that. Now we've talked about the situation. It didn't start now. It's been there. It's caused by politicians instigating and all of that. That's what both of you have put out there. Attitude, you said. So how do we curb it?
Now, first and foremost,
for instance, since you are so stuck on River State, let's use River State. How do we curb it in River State?
Well, how to curb it in River State is first and foremost, whoever is the government of the state must realize that there's a difference between politicking and governance. And governance has to do with beyond providing good governance and all of those. Governance also includes protecting lives and properties of citizens. Now, citizens here is not just citizens of a political party, it's not citizens of the party of the governor, but citizens of the entire state. So the government must be willing to punish electoral offenders because nobody's above the law. Now, if I want to say that beyond the state, the federal government should take up the responsibility because the offense prescribed, it's an offense made pursuant to the Act of the National Assembly. So the Federal High Court and the federal government has the capacity and the legal framework to punish offenders. Then secondly, another point is that there should be, whether the National Assembly wants to amend the law to include that anybody that is indicted or if there's any evidence provided against anybody who has induced or incited people to commit electoral violence, such a person should be disqualified from running election. And even if the person has won the election, he could be recalled and sanctioned, banned from contesting election for upwards of 10 years.
Which is part of the law. So.
Yes, which is part of the law, but it is not being implemented. It is not being implemented because otherwise, I don't see why a governor or anybody in that status could mount on a rostrum to say anybody that comes to conduct election here should first write his will. Okay. And when he was asked again, he said, and if they fail, that anybody that wants to rig election should go. There are laws, prescriptions for anybody that attempts to rig election. It is provided there.
Okay.
It's punishment and not death.
So again, I would say very simply, attitudes. Even when you are bringing up a child, they talk about attitude being everything. The attitude of our leaders matter a lot. This do or die comes from the fact that you're not popular. And the governor, Governor Wiki has said this several times, you can only rig while you're and win while where you're popular. You're not popular, but you want to win this election at all costs. What would you do? You would disrupt elections in such a way. And he talked about Abia. Abia was relatively peaceful. But again, there were disruptions in the areas where the candidate of the other party came from. There was a voting pattern. You can look at the results. And in that area, we didn't see any results from that area forever. We just woke up the next morning and there were 14,000. There was not even a combined 14,000 in any of the areas. So these kind of things, again, you will want to rig where you're not popular. And if you want to rig, you have to perpetuate violence. You will have to snatch ballot boxes. You will have to prevent people from voting. You will collude with INEC officials, and I'm saying this on TV, you will collude with INEC officials to take papers and omit political parties who are stronger in those areas, because you know what will happen when you get there. people will start quarreling and say you cannot, and it happened. You know, and let me also ask you a question, a very serious question. What do you think would happen if we were in the UK and a court issued an order and said military people are not allowed to be anywhere near this election, and a serving cabinet member went to the state with military? What do you think would have happened? Do you think he would have waited to be sacked? Or would have resigned from that place? Would even have dared it? You know, when people talk about the rule of law, I say yes, PDP is not a perfect party, but by all means, it's a party that respects, at least to a certain extent, with some of our leaders, the rule of law. You've seen it under President Jonathan. When he lost the election, people told him not to hand over, but he did.
So the definition of rule of law is when a president loses an office and then he leaves the office.
It means obeying the law of the land.
By the way, and what is he supposed to do? Are they an option?
He didn't carry 100 mobile policemen and soldiers and go around the polling booths.
I have the right to speak.
You said, wait, before you speak, you said something else. You said there was a court ruling. You said there was no court ruling. But a high court sitting in Rivers State in Port Harcourt on Thursday restrained the Chief of Defense Staff and the brigade commander of Imperial Brigade, and the Chief of Army Staff from deploying military operatives for the rerun elections.
Okay.
That was state high court.
Yes, it's a state high court. It's a Rivers State High Court. But when there is a court ruling, I believe we may not be lawyers, but we have a little bit. Okay, a lawyer. So when there's a court ruling, what do you do?
Let me speak from the point of view of a lawyer. To the extent that I have to say that
when there's a court
ruling, upside down now.
Let me speak from the point of view of a lawyer to say that when there's a court ruling, a judgment of court, whether it is made within jurisdiction or out of jurisdiction, parties are bound to obey that ruling. But now, if you come to the issue, which is the issue of impunity that this present governor is trying to bring over. Why would a governor who is also a lawyer, and why would the Attorney General of a state who is also a lawyer, who knows in the first place that the state high court has no jurisdiction over federal institutions like the military, like the DSS, want to go to a state high court to obtain another? Okay, I'm not aware of order.
Hold on.
But under the same government, magistrate courts are giving restraining orders to hold the suspects for longer. When even that under this same government.
Under which law?
Exactly.
I'm asking
if tomorrow you go to court to get the same judgment, you will complain about it.
There is a new law in Nigeria.
Let us have one law for everybody. One law for APC, one law for PDP.
That allows the magistrate court to remand people on withholding charges.
Okay, and the new criminal justice system does not give the state high court powers to give rulings and
no, it doesn't. The issues that they want to canvass is not criminal.
Okay, so what the question I asked was, which is, I'm not supposed to ask a question. My question is, when there's a court ruling,
and I've said so,
they are to obey.
I said they are bound
whether
to
it's
obey.
within jurisdiction or out of jurisdiction.
Yes, I'm not aware until it is set aside.
Yes,
I'm not aware of that. Since you said so, I want to take it from there. But once there's a judgment,
the APC has a habit of jettisoning the rule of law.
The question I've asked, you just said, if some of these things happened in the UK, if what happened had happened in the UK, by now the Attorney General would have been removed. Yes, because he knew from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that the State High Court does not have jurisdiction over those institutions.
Is that for him to determine?
Yes.
The State High Court cannot determine that themselves?
What?
They can't say we have to come on. Let's not even go through that.
The man who approached the court ought to know, as a lawyer, as a senior advocate.
At the end of the day,
as a senior advocate, the man who approached the court,
at the end of the day, I'll say again that
ought to know that the state high court has no jurisdiction. But he went there to procure to procure it.
You see, what do you mean procure?
Procure. When I use the word procure, is that
he bought a judgment.
Whatever. If you want to say it that way, because we've seen other judgments that they procured.